True builders, welcome to the workbench. We have Drogon from the Metal Earth Iconx Game of Thrones collection. I'm really happy to be building another Game of Thrones model here on the show, especially a dragon. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. On the back, we get a good look at our model, followed by a difficulty rating of just over medium. Then, on the right, we have a QR code which we can scan to get a 360 view of our model while we're building. This is great for adding little bits of detail and seeing how it goes onto the model. Then, just below, we have some instructions, but more on that a little bit later. And finally, at the bottom, we get a look at some other models in the series. Groovers, let's go ahead and open up our package. We have our instructions, and we have our metal. I guess Drogon is somewhere in here. Alright, Groovers, let's go ahead and get out our first couple of parts. And there we go, all of our parts needed for that first page. Now, as you can see, a lot of this detail is shaped pretty much the same way, and we're making a long snake-like shape first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab part number 1 here, and making sure that we orientate it the right way, which is making sure that the scales are on the outside, where you can see number 1 here. We're gonna flip it on the inside, and we're gonna start rolling it like this. And what that's going to do is create a really nice shape. I'm just increasing my pressure here, and you're going to see it's going to get really, really nice. Alright, that looks pretty good. And now that we did it with this one part, we're going to go ahead and do it with the other ones here too. Once we have them all similarly shaped, we're going to connect them together. Let's go ahead and start with part number 2. Same thing here, we're going to flip this piece the other way. That way, the detail is going to be shaped really nicely. We want those scales on the outside. Okay, I think these all looked pretty good. Now we can start attaching them together. Let's go over to part 1 first here. Now with part 1, what's important here is to take these tabs and of course put them straight down. I still think that we need to curve this in a little bit more, so I'm going to do that with my tweezers here, just slowly bending the edges. Nothing too crazy. I don't want to make any creases with my tweezers in the metal. That will really ruin the shape. I'm actually also going to use my little shaping tool here to kind of help me with that. Actually, I got a bigger one. Let me see if that's better. Just trying to get a better shape here before we go any further. I don't know how skinny the actual body is going to be just yet, but I'm going to do my best guess. Now that I have this shape the way I want it to be, I'm going to take these tabs and just bend them slightly down, just like that, 90 degrees. Awesome. There we go. There's part number 1 fully shaped. Now for part number 2, what we need to do is take these 3 tabs here in the back and connect them on the tabs, or I'm sorry, the insertion holes right here. This could be a little bit tricky. So my suggestion is to go ahead and bend these straight down. And I think by doing this, we're going to be able to use almost like a locking technique to get these tabs into their insertion holes easier. Let's see how that works. There we go. Okay, here comes part number 2. I'm going to start with the left side here, and you can see how it just pushes right in. It's very nice. You can see here the top tab, I'm actually shaping these two pieces as we go too. Like I said before, we don't really know the size yet of how big the neck is, so we're kind of learning that as we bend our pieces here. That was tricky, but we did it. And now what I'm going to use is my tab bending tool here. This is a nice little piece of kit. Very cheap. Nice little... Now it's telling me to bend these tabs, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to just do this right here. Locking them in place. I'm actually going to alternate that too, just to make sure that we have the least amount of gaps as possible. So you can see I'm not racing along here, I'm taking my time. It's important, especially with these more detailed models. That is our first two parts connected. See, it says 1 and then 2. Now it's very important to keep this orientation going, and you really don't want to have a piece that's formed the wrong way. So if you're going to have all the numbers on the inside, make sure all the pieces are formed that way. If you're going to keep them on the outside like I am here, keep them on the outside. Let's move on to part number 3 now. Same thing as before, we're going to bend these tabs down because that will make it a lot easier for us to be able to get that locking mechanism that we need. It also might be easier to secure the outer tabs first here and then get that middle one. So I'm going to try it this time that way and see if it's a little easier for us to get that in. Let's try doing the outside tabs here first. Okay, that didn't work out the way I wanted to. That was definitely a little bit more difficult. I'm going to secure it the way I did before and see if that works a little bit better. Interesting. Again, just that last little area there on the side, it seems like you always have a little bit of a struggle. I wonder if it's because I don't have my pieces bent enough. That could very well be it. So let's try and see if we can get these bent a little bit more and see if I can make my life a little easier. Now, I have went ahead and done a lot of bending here to see if that by bending this, I will actually make it easier on myself to secure everything together. Now, let's see if that is the truth here. I'm going to have to possibly... Oh, yep, right here. This is where we were, part number 3. I said struggle, but I got it right in. I guess having the right shape is really key for getting these tabs in easily. So take your time with this step as you're forming these pieces. Don't get frustrated, and you'll find that the tabs really do just kind of slide in like we just saw. Okay, let's go ahead and bend these tabs over. Awesome. Okay, now we can move on to part number 4. Now, this is pretty repetitious, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward through the process, and when I'm finished, I should have a nice neck. Okay, and there is our neck. Now I know for sure that we're gonna have to come back here and do some more forming, but for right now, this looks pretty good. I think it's very important to always take that center tab there and bend it towards this center here, towards the head, I should say. I think that's very important because you want to make sure that all of these have no gaps. None of the areas here are any spacing. I think that's very important. And if you don't alternate these tabs, what you'll find is that they will actually have massive places here in the metal, and that will be very, very unsightly in the end. Part number 9 is formed very similar to this neck, so it shouldn't be too crazy. Let's go ahead and start rolling this, making sure, of course, that we turn it like this. So we have all this dotted metal here, and we can start the roll. Looks like I might need my smaller tweezers this time here again. Whoops. Don't pull too much. You'll break those tabs. Okay, a little bit more pressure here. I want to try to bend those sides the best I can. And there we go. All right. Now I'm going to bend these tabs up. Just like this. One more just right here. All right. And there we go. Part number 9 all formed. Now we're going to need more parts. And there we go, we have all of our parts needed for that third page. Now this detail is formed very similar to what we've done before, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through a lot of it. But if you have any questions, just make sure to leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Alright, let's get started with part number 10 here. And then again, making sure those scales are on the bottom, which they are right now. We're going to form this piece. Just like that. A little pressure. You don't want to leave those edges straight, so get right to that edge. And there we go, looking really nice. Awesome. Now, just like before, we're going to bend these down. And actually, I'm going to use my tab bending tool to help me with this, just because I want to get as much of the tab as possible to bend down. Okay. Now part 10 here gets attached to the front. I actually bent these tabs a little bit too much. I'm going to bend them back a little bit, and that should allow me to insert them into that area a little easier. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can get this in here. One tab. Two tabs. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, we are so close. As you can see, the forming is a little bit off. But we'll get her in there. Oh. You almost have to form them as you're getting it in place. Okay, now that we have all of our tabs in there, we're going to secure them in place. Now, this might be a little tricky for you if you don't have some detailed tweezers, so just do your best with what you have and take your time. Don't rush this part. There's one done. And I'm going to bend the other ones the opposite way. Because again, I really do want them to be locked into place. I'm going to open that up a little bit, I think. Okay, I think that's about as best as I'm going to get that shape for right now. It's pretty ugly, but we'll definitely get it formed a little better later on. Let's move on to our next piece. Whoops. Let's move on to our next piece here, which is number 11. Now, number 11 is just like the other ones. We're going to form it just by rolling it. So here's where we're going to do some fast forwarding. And now we're going to feed the next piece in, going one tab at a time. One, two. Now the hardest one usually to get is the third one, because this one you have to kind of bend the metal a little bit to help you get it in there. And there's the third. Awesome. Bend this way here. Secure in place. There we go. Excellent. Now, yeah, it did lose its form a little bit, but again, we'll fix that as we go along. Now let's add our next piece on. Just like before, bend these guys down. We'll come back in a bit and actually bend these tabs up a little bit later. For right now, they're fine the way they are. Okay, I'm just going to form this out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for right now. Definitely have to be careful with this piece until we get everything connected together. Place her down here. And now we're going to be working on the feet. Part 27 here. Okay, now taking a look at this part, it's very important to make sure that we have the engraved side up here. So we're bending everything down, just like this. Now these nails here get bent right back underneath, just like so. I'm not going to bend them all the way just yet because I want to see if I can maybe puff them out a little bit. We'll see if I can do that though. Looking good, looking good. Now what I have to do is match up part 28. Now this could be a little bit challenging because of what we need to do. So what I'm going to do is look at this diagram here, and I'm going to go just like that, and that's the start. And this piece here is a sharp, so we're going to bring it right back up. And then we have a little box, then back down again, sharp bend, again, toenail, okay. Now I know this might look a little bit weird, and it's probably wrong. We're gonna check it out and see how it looks, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's grab this piece here. I'm actually very interested to see if it's gonna fit correctly or not. Let us see. Okay, we definitely have some bending to do here. Okay, that's lining up a little better than it was before. That definitely takes some manipulation to get everything kind of lined up correctly, but once you do got a nice little foot going on here. I'm gonna definitely play with this a little bit more though to make sure it looks really nice and finished. And these two tabs here get folded over each other as well. There's the one, and there's the other. Great. That foot looks really nice. Now we need to move on to step 8, which is forming part 29. This is a very interesting looking piece, And again, it's very important that we actually form this on the correct side. This is the wrong side, this is the right side. So what we're going to do here is place this down, and we're going to round it out using the same method as we have before, but this time using a rounded tool to try to help us get the shape that we need. Now this will take some time, but again, if we just go and roll this carefully over every single part of this piece, you'll have a really nice finish. Okay, now I think that's pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and start connecting these tabs all the way around. Now we don't want to have a very cylindrical part here in the middle, so I'm going to form that out as we go. Okay, now this is looking a little bit more brickier than I wanted, so I'm definitely going to fluff out this piece a little bit, but you can see how this arm looks. Very sharp indeed. Let's move on to our next little piece here, which is part 30. This one's a little bit of a trickier piece to fold in. Again, we're going to try to get that nice shaping, but this time I'm going to use a different tool. I'm going to try to use this tool here to get that long shape. Again, very important. Just make sure the metal has a little bit of a bend to it, and you'll be able to get that nice shape in a moment. Let's see here. Now that I've begun that shaping, I'm going to try to bend that around like this. Again, really using my tool to do majority of the work. I think that's important to let people know. And make sure you go right to the edges here as well. That'll make your life a lot easier. And now we're going to take these little tabs here. So we're going to go ahead and make locking mechanisms for both, just like this. Expand this out just a little bit here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, now that we've done that, we need to go ahead and take the outside here and bend these guys outward, just like that. And now the tricky part, we're going to attach these two guys together. Okay, saying to insert the tab here in the middle first, and then attach the other two tabs. So let's try that. Got a little pressure here, get her in there. There we go, one. And now, that last little guy there. I can see this one being tricky, because you gotta completely fold this around. Interesting. All right, I think that actually looks really good. Everything looks pretty steady too. Nothing's wibbling or wobbling around. All right, groovers, let's get some more parts. Our cutters are away and we have all of our parts needed for page 4. Now our first piece that we're going to be forming is 31, and this is very similar to what we've done before. What we're going to do here is just kind of roll it. Again, making sure that we get right to that edge there, and then we're going to creep it over. Now let's use my tool here to get this done right. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. We'll see how it all comes together though. Let's go ahead and connect it to our previous piece we were working on. Now it's very important here that we follow this exactly. I'm gonna pull this tab out just a tad and then work that one in and then get the other ones. Maybe I can get both at the same time. Let's see. Oh, snap. We got it. That was great. Okay, now we gotta secure it the best we possibly can. The paint is on that one side, but I think that by securing it that way, we're not gonna have a good hold. So instead, I'm gonna bend these up and probably try to cover them later. We'll see how it looks. All right, I like it. Now we need to add our foot on that we did earlier. Okay, so that one piece is in there. That is such an interesting way to form that in. Yep, boom. It's an interesting thing. Right there is connected. So this is actually supposed to be connected with a twist anyway. So that's what we're gonna do. Awesome. There is some dragon feet for you. All right, groovers, let's move on to our next step, which has us forming another foot just like this. Put this right here, and now grab this guy right here. Okay, and there we go. Both of our legs are complete. I won't be surprised if I have to go back and do some reshaping once everything is together with these, but nevertheless, not too bad. Now it's time to add them on to our body. This should be fun. Okay, now before I put this on, I'm gonna make sure that this is facing the right way. It definitely looks like our leg is facing the bigger part of our piece here. So I'm gonna put it on like this. One tab. What? So close. Two tabs. And three. Awesome. Now when you're twisting these tabs, it's very important to press as hard as you possibly can. And that's because you don't want any of your pieces to be moving around. There's our one leg all nice and secure. Let's move on to our next step. I'm just gonna push this down a little bit more. Now again, we're gonna take as much pressure as we possibly can when it comes to securing these tabs. Well, right now, he looks like he has to go to the bathroom, doesn't he? I'm sure that will change as we move along here. Let's go on to forming our wing, which is part 37. This big wing here. Look at that. So cool. And now this right here is part 38. And part 38, it's very important that we have our engraved side, which is right here. This is the non-engraved side. And ooh, that is an ugly little piece right there. It's like something left over from the paint process. Huh. Wow. You know, I think this is the first time that I've ever encountered this with a Metal Earth model. Interesting. Well, that's okay. If I want to, I could contact Metal Earth and they would replace this for me. But right now, because we're doing this as an instructional piece, we'll go ahead and just continue on building. Very interesting though still. Now with our engraved side here, what we want to do is of course bend these tabs up, just like that. And again, we're going right to the edge and bending those up. You don't want any little bits of that tab left over. And that's because if there is a little bit of that tab left over, it will leave a gap when we're securing all of our pieces together. There we go. Very nice. And now we're gonna move on to our next piece here. This is part 39. Same thing, we're gonna make sure our engraved side is up. And again, we're gonna bend these tabs up. Very easy to do. Great. Now we can put this onto our wing. Okay. Our little one here goes on the outside. There's my first two. Second. Third and fourth. Now these are all connected with a bend, and it looks like all of the paint goes towards the outside of the wing. So I'm going to do that because again, I like to make my tabs pretty much as invisible as possible. Okay, that's all of our pieces connected for this page. Now we need more parts. Okay, the cutters are away and we have all of our pieces needed for page 5. This is more of the wing forming. It's pretty straightforward. We're just bending these tabs up. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey, even with this minimal commentary that you're getting right now, still better than Season 8. Honestly, what a letdown Season 8 was. I was really enjoying all of Game of Thrones. I mean, every bit of it. Even some of the later seasons that people were kind of arguing about. But when I first originally heard those leaks, that was brutal. And I hate to say that I read leaks, but it's just a reality. I do read leaks. I think it's important to read leaks, especially lately with how media has been changing. It's been unreal. I mean, if you look at all of our franchises lately, I mean, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, even some of the Marvel stuff. I don't know what it is lately, but just I feel like we've really lost our way with some of these franchises. But of course, that doesn't mean we can't appreciate some of the really cool stuff that comes from them. You almost sometimes have to separate the art from the artist. And of course, go back and enjoy those old episodes that you really enjoy, like Doctor Who. I absolutely love old Doctor Who. The third Doctor is actually my doctor. That's John Pertwee. Pretty awesome guy. One of my favorites by far, and he does some really cool episodes that actually still kind of hold up if you're into the whole Doctor Who thing. Definitely a good serial show to watch. Get all these here on this side first. There we go. I'm gonna just put a slight little bend here and there. Just like that. And that should give me that extra room. And now, what we're gonna do is we're actually going to give this a little bit of a roll. Just a tiny one, nothing crazy. Let me find my smallest tool here. Here we go. This guy should be able to give me a hand here. There we go. There we go. Woo! That is a tricky little piece. Alright, we finally got that wing in place. Now we're gonna fold this over. Don't worry too much if it's not exactly the way you want it the first time. We might have to go through here and, of course, bend a few things and shape them the way we need them a little bit later. But right now, this actually looks really cool. Let's go ahead and put this to the side and start working on our other wing. Now, this is pretty much the same thing, so let's go ahead and fast forward to where I've already completed it. There we go. All of our tabs secured and our wings have been completed. That didn't take too long. All right, let's get some more parts. Okay, all of our cutting is done. I went ahead and cut out all of the remaining pieces because there really wasn't much left. Let's get started with part 47 here, where we have to bend all of the edges to kind of create the arms. Now, I've already shown you how I like to roll my pieces, and I think here's a good example of another place where we're going to want to do it. But we need to be very careful with our edges, and if you don't have a rolling tool like I do, I would recommend taking your tweezers and kind of bending it around. And I might go ahead and show you now how to do that. Just like I am right now, what we're going to do is we're going to bend it and we're going to match our seams. And that kind of gives you an idea of how much you actually want to bend this part forward. And again, you're just kind of bringing that all the way around, doing as many bends as you possibly can. Okay, the more bends you do here, the better the part will come out. If you try to do it in one big bend, you'll find that the piece will warp very easily. So just go ahead and just keep using multiple bends, and again, just keep matching up those seams. If you can see right here, I'm trying to match that seam right there. And if they're not matching, that means you might need to bend a little bit more. So don't be surprised if you have to do some really big drastic bends here. It looks like you really have to do some good ones by the end. Okay. This right here goes straight. Right here might need to be bent. And now the back here also gets bent. You can see how this can be challenging for new builders out there to get the proper shaping. If this is your first metal model, this is going to be an interesting endeavor for you for sure. Alright, so that's the one arm I did right there using just tweezers. Now I'm going to use the other arm here using my method, which is going to be rolling our parts. I'm going to move my wing out of the way here, and hopefully I won't get in the way of my other parts that I have formed. But by going here and rolling this out like this, what I'm doing is kind of creating the arm on the inside, and the piece, the metal's actually forming around my pressure here, so it's forming evenly as I do this. Woo! You can see how easily I got that really cool bend, right? And I'm going right to the edges as I'm doing this as well. And the reason why I'm going to the edges is because I want those seams to line up. I would have done the other side like this as well, but I think it's important to show both ways of doing this, because I recognize a lot of people at home don't have the same tools that I do. And here I go messing up all of my pieces in the order they were in. I really should go ahead and just move everything up here. As you can see, this is way easier to do now because we have that generic shape that we got with the dapping set there. Whoops. Just dropping everything. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this now. I think we got the generic shape that we need. Let's put on the other pieces, starting with part 48. Now, I know this says to go ahead and bend this, but I'm going to twist this right now. And that's because I think that's a better way of securing this at the moment. Later I might come back and bend it, but right now we're just going to twist it. Nice and secure. Looking cool. Now we gotta add our pieces on, and I think the best way to go ahead and do this is actually attach the belly together along with the neck and then attach it onto here. So let's go ahead and see if we can actually put the belly and this neck piece together and then go from there. So this part here is where the belly will actually be, and you can see already how squished this is. So that tells me my neck is probably going to have to be a lot more indented too. So right away we know that we got some shaping to do, and I knew we were going to have to do that. One thing I don't want to have happen as I'm pushing my pieces together here is to have any hot spots develop that might create any kind of creased corners. Once those are there, they're really hard to get out, so take your time with this part. Okay, I kind of got my one tab in there. And now I'm going to go for my bottom tab. You know what? I should have bent that down. Yeah, I just used that insertion hole to bend the tab. That's right. Who needs tweezers? Bend that right there. Sometimes you just gotta tell the metal who's boss. You gotta be like, hey, you're not doing that. I'm telling you what to do, metal. And I say, you're gonna become a dragon. You're gonna like it. Because this dragon's awesome. And dragons are awesome in general, most of the time. Only some dragons are sucky. For the most part, most dragons are pretty awesome. Dudley, the dragon, was pretty freaking awesome. Hey, Middle Earth, I got an idea. Dudley the dragon. Dudley, copyright. See, sometimes I really do like to kind of use the model itself to get the right shaping. I think it works the best. Now you can still see they got some pretty kind of weird things going on here at the neck. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bend this a little bit more and kind of allow some of the shaping here. I gotta form this piece a little better here. Okay, we still got some big gaps here in the neck, but we're gonna go ahead now and attach it onto our main body and see if we can kind of fix that as we go. These guys go right here at the tip, just like that. And that is basically the start of how this dragon is gonna look. Look how big this whole model is. It's huge. Work these tabs in one by one. Alright, I'm okay with how it looks right now. I might go back a little bit later and change some of the things, but for the most part, we're okay. Let's add the wings on now, and I think this might take some time too, just judging by how difficult some of the forming was for this. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to do is I'm going to bend these tabs down first, like that, and then like this. Alright, now let's add this on. I'm going to start with the outer and we'll work our way in. Okay, there's one wing all attached. Oh, I got one more tab down here that was hiding on me here. Gotcha. All right. Now we are fully secure with that one wing. That was a bit of a doozy. Let's fast forward to where this one's fully on. I have to do a little bit more adjustment here around the wings, but it looks really nice, I think. Let's go ahead and start adding on the feet now at the back. Now, we already know that we have to give a little bit more of a squeezing here due to how thin the body is, but I think that won't be too hard to achieve. Let's go ahead and bend this up here and this right here. Up and up. Awesome. And now we're going to put this inside. It says here to attach the ones that are at the back first and then go for the ones that are at the center. Okay, I see what it means. It wants me to attach the actual leg piece first and then attach the other side. I get it. Okay. Okay, I understand your games. Woo! This is a little bit of a tricky bed. Definitely trying to get everything in the right spot is definitely challenging. But once you get everything connected, it works out pretty well. Now we need to move on to adding the next part of the tail here, which is this piece right here. And just like before, we want to add the tabs that are at the bottom first and then work out the ones at the back. There we go. Got ya. Whoa-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. Now that we've inserted those, we can work on these. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that we still need to work on the rounding shape a little bit, but not bad, not bad. I think it's now time to add the last little bit of tail that we formed here, this little section, and I think this might be tricky just because of the size of it. I mean, just look at that. You will not get the best of me today, dragon. Not today. There we go. Okay. A little bit of weirdness here in the tail going on. Something we can easily fix, though, it looks like. There we go. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Now we need to bend part number 50 here. And I know that I have to go back and fix that tail for sure. I don't know what's going on with that little last piece there, but it's definitely springy. Do that. There we go. Match the seam here. Excellent. Now we can add this piece onto the tail. It's being a little bit odd too. Bring it around. Okay, that wasn't as difficult as the other parts of the tail. Secure this into place with some nice twists. Again, making sure we're pushing as hard as we can on the piece to make sure we have no wiggle room. Excellent. Very cool. Whoop, that little leg there popped out. I must have accidentally pulled that tab out. Unfortunately, it's too late to be able to fix that, so I will have to work out something a little bit different. But you know what? A lot of people won't notice that because only viewers that make it this far in the video will actually see that mistake. I'll keep it in just for you. All right, I'm just gonna close it up a little bit. And now it's time to work on our face. Whatcha? Starting right at the front here. And then we're gonna bend this little nose piece down. And as we bring the sides in, we will match that tab. Looking really neat there. That looks really cool. Just tighten up that head. Nice. Now, a little bit down too. There we go. Cool. Where's my tongue at? It's like a Gene Simmons tug thing going on here. Now I would say it's very important here to make sure that you have your detail, the proper detail on the outside here. It's very easy to get this piece turned around. Just double check that before you secure it into place. Nothing sucks more than having to go back and fix work you've already placed. You know, these tabs actually disguise very well with the teeth here, with the paint. So I'm gonna disguise them with the teeth. And I think that looks actually pretty good. And now we're gonna bend this little lip up here. There we go. Doesn't he look just so happy? Aww. I think he looks happy personally. I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, that does look pretty nice, but we need to go ahead and put him down and work on our next piece here, which is adding the rest of the tail detail. Now you'll notice there's the inside detail and outside detail. You want to work with the outside detail here, and the bigger spurs go towards the front. Okay. Excellent. Okay, now for the last part, just the head. Let's see how difficult this ends up being. That actually wasn't too bad. Let's see if I can just push that here and flip it to the other side. Boom. Okay, with all of our tabs secured, now it's just a matter of us posing the dragon the way we want him to. I kind of want him to be on his feet a little bit, but I do want his wings down. So I'm gonna try to bend a little bit like that, and bring it in a little bit here too. That tuck in. Yeah, I like tucking those in a lot better. That looks way nicer. Makes more sense that way too. Because I was wondering, I was like, he looks like a chicken a little bit with the wings that way. But you know what? I think this worked out really nicely. And it's just a matter of us just kind of working out these wings in the way we like them. There we go. Drogon.